Recording? Okay, we're live.
Okay, you're live. Here we go. So good afternoon. Oh, and then Darlene, I see you too now, and Julie. Welcome. Sandra, Valerie, Hiro, Elizabeth, Mark, Peter, anyone I haven't said hello to. So welcome. And we are going to have a really quick session where I'm going to introduce some or just remind ourselves of some tools we can use alongside our Blackboard courses or our wherever we have our courses running that can be used whether we are meeting live synchronously or for asynchronous weeks. And the focus is really on the group work management with the tool part kind of as a means to the management. I think you'll understand what I mean as we go along. So in the chat area, if you can keep your chat open, post questions, comments. We love chat cheerleading, so anything that you like or maybe you've used or you have an idea, please feel free to jump in. That back channel writing is a really important part of our classes now, especially when we are obviously synchronous. So encouraging your students to write constantly actually is not that distracting. I think it keeps people engaged. And it creates a voice when you don't have to turn on your camera, you don't have to have your audio on, but you can show that you're engaged and you're reacting, and you can have stop and jot moments. So I can say just right now, I want you to stop and jot into the chat. How large is your largest class this semester? How large is your largest class this semester? I heard from Amber, it's about 85, 95 students, 100, Darlene, 300, 680. Oh yes, I know, Manashi. I hope you're using your clickers, lady. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, we're all gonna just say Manashi. Okay, Michael wins the miles away from Hunter award, and Manashi wins the number of students award. But you know, whether we have 8 students or 680, we want to give students a chance to work in partners or trios or groups. And that can happen during class, and that can happen asynchronously between classes. It's an important part of learning in higher education is to give that. Oh, Manashi, she's showing herself. You get props, lady. Let's all give her some applause for teaching 680 students. Oh, yes. Okay. So what we're going to be talking about in our session today, after we take a quick stretch, I always put that in just to remind myself to stretch. So everyone who's on camera, just do some kind of a stretch for a second because we get so stiff. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Everyone's doing it. I love it. Okay. That'll energize us for a second. I put those in or I forget to move. I get a frozen neck by the end of the day. So I'm going to just highlight 6 kind of purposes for using these collaborative writing tools for your group work management. So this session is not really about writing or how to teach writing. It's really about how tools that enable students to write together collaboratively in one document can be a vehicle for you to manage their group activities. So the first thing that I think is an important purpose is that if I just say, for example, you all go in a breakout room and work together, or this week online, group 4 work together. I really don't know who's doing the work, right? It tends to be 1 or 2 students. With the rest, it's kind of unknown to me how much they're participating. So when I create a collaborative writing assignment for the group, I know, I say encourage, but let's just say force. I force everybody to participate. It takes a little bit of the responsibility back on me because the way I've structured it promotes every person having to post or put their ideas in. Another one is once we do group work, let's say groups have posted something to Blackboard. They can't see anybody else's submission. So one of the nice things about using these tools is to give everyone in the class a chance to see everyone else's submissions, all the other groups, what did they do? I think that's also an important benefit. To monitor the amount expected, how much do I want, and to be very clear about my expectations. So when I set up a structured group work activity that requires some kind of writing or doing, it's easy for students to see what they need to do, and it enables me to be able to oversee the activity. I don't want to go into, even if I put groups of 10, which is not a good idea. Group size should really never be more than 5. But let's say I have a group of 10 in Menashe's class, that's still 68 groups that I'd have to monitor. So I need to do it quickly and efficiently to be able to kind of jump in. I would like you to just raise your hand either on your tools or physically if you've ever joined a group during a breakout room in any of your sessions. Have you ever, Keith has, Laura, okay. And don't you feel kind of like you're intruding when you go in on someone's breakout room? It's sort of this weird thing because you feel like you're spying on them, you're checking on them. Whereas if you were in a classroom, physical classroom, and you were just roaming around the groups, listening in, something about that is less obtrusive. But when you jump in or break into the breakout room, you feel you've invaded. And it's very awkward. And then it's like, oh, I'm going to leave now. And then I go into another one. So I find I don't really like going into breakout rooms. So this is another way to watch the activities happening without going into breakout rooms. And then the last one, this is dedicated to Xiao because she's heard me say this about 1,000 times, is that grading fatigue. I hate grading. I really hate it. So if I create groups, that's that many fewer assignments I have to grade. And what's happening with the online learning, in order to see that everybody is alive and well and active, we feel we have to give a lot of assignments like every week. Because if I just say, read this, discuss it with somebody, how do I know anything really happened? I have to create these sort of, I'm not going to call them busy work, but sort of checking assignments. They're not major. They don't really need feedback. They're not going to be revised, but I want to monitor that students are engaged. So using these kinds of tools can help you keep your energy for individual assignments or assignments where you really want to do write more extensive feedback. So 7 tools we're going to talk about. The Whiteboard, the Jamboard, Padlet, Kami, Google Docs, Google Slides, and Wikis. So if you would, in your chat area, if there's any of those that are new for you, would you put the number into the chat? Maybe there's a few that are new, like 2 and 4 are new for you, so you could put 2 and 4. Use the chat for a moment and tell me what's new for you. 2 and 4. Okay, yay. 1, 2, 2, 4, 6, 7. Okay, nice. 2, 4, 7. Oh, good. Okay. So that's very helpful to me because that gives me some quick feedback on what I'm going to spend more or less time talking about. So the first thing before we go to those tools are sort of my general principles. Doesn't matter what the tool is for the engagement of the group work. The structure. There has to be a clear structure, and by structure, I mean you use a table, you use headings, you use prompts, and you preload anything you're asking students to work with the directions and the prompts. It's never just, I'm going to write my instructions on my Blackboard and just go to this document and do it. And when the student arrives, the document is empty. The document or the place where students go is never empty. I've already pre-populated or created the framework. That saves tons of time questioning and the quality is raised. It becomes more of what you want them to do by structuring it. Decide if it's pair, trio, or groups to work on the test. Some things really work so much better if you're just with a partner, but partner activities are better done probably live, because you know, if I ask, let's say, Cindy to contact Xiao, and Xiao disappears on her, Cindy's alone. So if it's something that depends on outside of class time, you probably want a couple more people just in case someone in the group flakes out. The third criteria for me is that I can sit back, relax, not really relax, but I can watch students at work in their groups as it's happening. And as it's happening means during class, where I say, go work on this for 10 minutes, or it could be work on it next week, and I'm going to look at it, it's due next week. Okay. First one is the whiteboard. So the whiteboard is a tool that's built into Zoom. I'm not going to go to it. I was kind of going to see where we were at. I don't think I'm going to click to it now, because I'd have to stop sharing and share whiteboard and then share this again. And nobody said number one was new to them. So the trick with whiteboard that I just wanted to point out, we all know that if you're using Zoom, you can share screen and opt for this whiteboard. It has basic drawing and text boxes. The best way to use a whiteboard for group activities, so I'm going to pretend I have 10 groups of 5. I have 50 students in my class. At the bottom of the whiteboard page, where I have this arrow, are page numbers. That's something some people don't realize. I could decide there's group 1, go to page 1, group 2, go to page 2, group 3, go to page 3, etc. I could put the same question on each page, or I could put a different question on each page. I've preloaded it with text boxes, and then they can go. Disadvantage, I can't preload it before class. So I'd have to go on a little early, open my whiteboard, do it, and then come back to it later in the class. Students then, while they're working on the pages, cannot go to a breakout room. That's another disadvantage. The whiteboard stays with me in my main session. So I can have everyone working on it, but I can't say go to a breakout room, because then they'll lose access to the whiteboard. I hope that makes sense. If not, definitely ask questions about that. So the other thing is, I always promote a group work kind of fun icebreaker. I talked about icebreakers last time I did the ACERT Tech Talk. And Amber, actually, I was going to mention to you, I use a tool called Mentimeter. And Mentimeter is really great for quick postings and like that kind of thing. But one of the icebreakers is something simple like, what are 3 places outside of New York you've all visited? That's what I've put here. You know, what are 3 of your favorite classes you've taken at Hunter? You know, it could be anything, but I really recommend one icebreaker question for your group, because it does get them to interact a little bit before you're just heading to content, at least at the beginning of the semester. Okay, here we go. Next one is something called Jamboard. So since Jamboard might be new for some of you, these are Google-based tools. They're free. If you use the Google Chrome, whatever browser, it can be an extension for you. I prefer Jamboard to Whiteboard, because the Jamboard allows you to do a few things. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the link to the Jamboard into your chat here. Okay, let's see if I can do that. So if you have a tab right now open on your computer, if you'd like to try, if not, no worries. One of the things with Jamboard that's nice is I can create post-it notes. That's this feature here. I can create a sticky note. It has a bunch of colors, and I can even make more colors. that's one way I could assign people. Of course, I could just use numbers too. So if, let's say, I'll pick on Paul. Paul, you're in the yellow group. I'd like you to post something for the yellow group. So he's going to have to pick a yellow post-it and put that in there. You guys, if you want to just play with it for a second, those of you who have entered the document, you could just pick a group right now that you want to join. Use the post-it tool, sticky note tool, excuse me, and add in an answer. Okay, fabulous. So someone used the text feature, eggs and toast. If I want to use a sticky note, will you be watching the presidential debate tonight? I'm going to take pink. Okay. All right. Great. So the way that it works is it creates additional post-its. The nice thing about them is that you can drag them. So we can do things where we work as a group simultaneously. Put it this way, we can work as a whole class with different groups on the same page. I can also create pages like I did on the whiteboard. Up at the top are pages. So I could create page 1, page 2, page 3. So on page 1, Darlene, you're in charge of the pink group. You put all the things you want on the page, and you don't have to worry about what's happening on the other pages. Obviously, Google is the strongest tool for these kinds of live, synchronous, interactive experiences. And I am sitting back and I'm watching, and I know people are working because I see the post-its populating. I can save it. And it's very similar to the whiteboard, but of course, it's so nice that, first of all, it looks a little prettier, but it also means that it's something that I can create as a link. So I could pre-class prepare it. I could also post it as a link on a asynchronous week. So as a homework assignment, work in your groups. And there's a lot you can kind of play with. But being a Google tool too, it has the images. I can put in image files as well, okay? So you'll play around with it, and if there's some questions with it, we can work on those later. So, because I see Michael and Elaine have a couple questions, no problem. I'm gonna go on to another tool. We can always come back to Jamboard. It's something I'm not super skilled with. It's still new for me as well. But I think visually can work nicely as a type of group interactive space. Okay, Padlet, we were talking about Padlet earlier, so we know we have those free accounts. With Padlet, it doesn't work as well for a synchronous experience because as the notes get posted, you start to lose where you are on the page, but it works nicely for something asynchronous. So this, for example, is a Padlet I created as a book club. And I wanted to point out, I gave choice for this one. So these were some novels that students could choose to read. I limited it to 5 people per novel. So I have a lot of novel choices on here. I've given a little blurb about it. And what I've asked is that people choose one to read, and then they're posting here. So this comes as kind of a long stream under that particular title. Padlet is very attractive visually, and you can use a lot of different formats in terms of how you arrange things. And I do recommend it for something that isn't happening at the same moment because it just scrolls a bit clunkier. So this one again, though, I've structured it because I already have the materials there, I have the activity there, and this one can be more of a choice-based group. But again, with the rules of the game, always for students, choose one, or no more than 5 people, make one post, that kind of comment. All right. Cami. Cami is a new one. Also, to me, it's something I've started to use. Cami is basically a PDF reader with annotation tools. So this could work well for an activity where you want to bring students together around a text that they're going to edit. Cami is another free tool that you can add as an extension on your Google Chrome. So, whoops, let me come back here. So with the Cami, let me come up here so I can see my Cami. All right. Excuse me for a second. I just want to show you where it is in, give me a moment. I have too many slides open. Okay. All right, I'm going to give you the link for this as well. That's going into the chat now. I must have closed it, so I'm just going to open it again. Okay, so with the Cami, to create it, you will need to use a Google account, just like with Jamboard. Your students, when they come to join, they don't have to join with their email. They can click skip this step. And if they skip this step, they come up as a guest user. So if you do want names on it, you would need to have people choose a Google email they're going to use. Or if it comes up anonymous, like Cindy said, you can ask them to put their name, kind of like with Padlet. So the way this works is I've picked an article, I've loaded it, and I've asked students to make comments on it. And I've made a comment and I asked everyone to use a different color. So over here under the, the comment box, we have these different colors. So people in your group can each take a color and post whatever number of comments that they want to. So they can also add text and respond to each other's comments. So this could be set up, again, you wouldn't have 680 people on one document. Again, in a group of 5, you might assign them to annotate this particular article, and you might give 6, 7, 8, 10 different articles. You could assign different groups, different articles, and then on your Blackboard or wherever, you can have all the links so people can actually go and see other articles and see comments. Students tend, of course, to read more intensively when they have to make comments. So annotation is not a good tool for a very long document. This would be something shorter. And students will tend to read each other's comments, and that will bring them back to text. So if you ask them, for example, to comment on your own group, your article, and look at 2 other people's articles and read their comments, students will be interested in what other students have commented and come back to read the original text more than telling them read up 2 other articles. And Cami works super well if you get your multiple positions report and you need to fill in a PDF. It's the best PDF annotator I've used. And again, being free, can add in your signature, add in text, and it saves and exports and keeps things also in your Google Drive. So that is a nice tool as well for group work with a document that you want them to annotate. Okay. Google Docs, I'm sure that's, Cami is free, Yumiko. There's only certain features are for pro. But for example, Yumiko, which is kind of neat, you can create voice memos. So you can annotate with voice. You can create, yes, so you can do some things adding in video and audio files with the more advanced version. Okay. Google Docs, I'm sure everyone is very familiar with Google Docs, but again, the way Google Docs works, so I'm going to put this into the chat if anybody wants to pop in and see it. Oh, I never sent that one, sorry. Okay, I didn't hit send on my Cami. Okay, so with a Google Doc, same principle applies. I basically post a question, I create a table, a chart. I could have group 1 and their thoughts, group 2 and their thoughts, whatever. And I can sit back and watch it happening. Or if it's asynchronous, I can check in during the course of the week and see if the thing is getting filled out. With Google Docs, when you have a lot of students, you probably want to make different docs for different people, because the challenge with docs is it will start to descend over the page breaks. and it's harder to keep group work separate, which is why, and you have to make sure to always set your Google Docs to be accessible without requirement of a link, because it's always very annoying. You click and then it says, I need edit access. And you're like, oh, I forgot to do that. So you'll always have to do that for those documents. I'm going to come back here. Something I think that is a little better than Google Docs for when you have multiple groups is Google Slides. Google Slides, just think of it as docs with a lot of pages that stay on their page. So I'm going to show you, let's see, this one. Okay. I'm going to put this, this link also into the chat. All of these are linked to my PowerPoint. So if you want to take the PowerPoint afterwards. So we're all familiar with slides, right? And how they work. It's a PowerPoint presentation. What people sometimes don't realize about slides for group work is that the ability to view on a grid means that I could actually watch all, I just used this last week in my class. I have a class of 75 students. I have 10 groups. So I can set them to work on an activity and basically monitor, because I see typing happening in the different boxes, and students can also raise their hand. They can say something like, I need your help, come into the group, or anything like that. I'm going to come out of the grid view for a moment. So what I did was, I'm going to go and present so you can see it a bit better. I put in, for each group is a team. They know that they're team 1 or team 2 or team 3 from prior classes. I made sure that the slide 1 was team 1 and slide 2 is team 2, rather than having an intro slide, because then all the numbering comes off. I preloaded each slide with an activity. The grid was the same. They were doing a speaking assessment of learners. The 3 columns were the same, but I gave them links to different videos of students that they would assess. So as I go through, I just had to change the top portion, and students then worked in their set boxes, and it doesn't scroll or slide on them as they're working. So I used this for a synchronous class activity. I gave them about 15 minutes in a breakout room, and I didn't go into any of the breakout rooms. I could sit back and watch what was happening. And when I saw that some groups were not putting in exactly what I wanted, I would just go into the box and type something there to give them a little prompt in the right direction. This I've also used asynchronously. So I've set up the slide deck and the group team goes to the slide. It enables them to see everybody's slide as well as their own. Now, again, you're not writing long essays. You can change the slide format to be longer. Google Slides just are that shape because they're that shape automatically, but you can make them any size. So that's something to keep in mind. And you can also print or save as a PDF and export the set of slides for later. Okay, so the last thing I think I'm talking about is Wikis and Blackboard, good old Wikis and Blackboard. So this was a tool that Yumiko and I have used for many, many years. This was a primitive, I mean, I'm talking like 10 years ago probably, we started with this.
Yeah, very primitive.
Very primitive. It was an early online course, and Xiao and I were trying to wrestle with the problem of having students be able to create and post within a group something that wasn't just submitted as an individual assignment, something that they could see together as a group, work collaboratively, the way a Google Doc works. So this is what this looks like. And actually, Yumiko could talk about it since she's on the call. I was wondering if she might be here. She can talk about it better than me. But essentially, in your tools area, under course tools, you have wikis. Again, the rule of thumb is setting them up with a frame. The wiki already has the instructions there, It has maybe an example or direction. It has a table that you've created so people know where to type what. And then it becomes easier for the professor to go in and review the work, the group work. Yumiko, you want to say anything about the wikis?
Yes, sure. The great thing about wikis is that when I provide feedback, I noticed that this is from our class. You can edit the wiki content. You can click edit wiki content and then control all and then copy the whole document into a regular Microsoft Word document and then write your comments and then put it back up when I provide feedback. So but the only thing about wiki is that I don't know if this is still true, but and maybe Xiao can help me out here. You can only log in for about 5 minutes. So
It
if a
times
student
out. Exactly. When
is
you're
it
in the
still-
edit mode, yeah. If one
Yes.
person goes in, everybody gets locked out because only one person can be editing at a time. And then to prevent you hogging the page, basically, it will time you out after 5 minutes. And so
Right.
we always tell students and professors, checking the page, right? So go in, do your quick edit, and then come out. Or if
Right.
you're actually writing, write Word, using Word, and then come in and paste it and then save.
Yes. So that's the only when one person is in the group and it is typing, nobody else can get in. So that's the only problem with wikis. Everybody can't be working on the one wiki at the same time, just like the Google Slides or Jamboard or things like or Padlet.
We've
But
used it successfully for years. I know that sounds terrible because now we're in the age of Google Docs, so why use it? But if you were someone who wanted to stay in the Blackboard world, and this course is asynchronous, so Yumiko's not telling everybody, hey, right now, go over to the wiki and post. It's something that happens over the period of time, maybe a week or even 2 weeks that they're asked to go in to do something on a wiki. And when they encounter, oh, it's being edited by someone else, she's already alerted them, hey, that might happen, you know, come back later kind of thing. But that is a bit of an annoyance. I don't know if there's any upgrade on that, Xiao, or that's just how it
I
is.
actually stopped recommending the wiki tool in Blackboard, except for the fact that it is in Blackboard. It really has so many limitations and so many caveats that I don't really mention it much more. I mean, by definition, okay, by definition, wikis are web pages. And so it would make sense if what you're asking the student to do is basically build a website or a couple of pages that are connected together, right? So if you have a longish term project where you're asking students to build a website with links and web pages that are connected to each other, well, yes, then in that case, the wiki tool in Blackboard is still useful. But other than that, I think go with Google Doc or some of the other tools that Laura is mentioning. Yeah.
Okay,
When
yeah.
we started, just one more thing,
Yeah.
way back when, I thought this was the coolest thing. I was this hip professor teaching online, but now, and when online remote teaching started, I've realized how basic and primitive Blackboard and wikis are. But it still works. We've had the great thing is that because it's so primitive, no technical problems. I've not had a student say, I don't know how to work this, I can't log in like I do with the other other apps, but this has been so basic and primitive that it's really easy to navigate, really easy. It's like a tech, not a phobia, people friendly. So I in that sense, I think it's great. But yes, it is time to kind of move on. You're right.
Well, speaking of time to move on, what I'm going to do now is just stop and see if there's any questions or thoughts or anything that people would like to share. I'm sure a lot of you have used a lot of these tools and you even have other things to offer the group in terms of ideas. I see that Xiao mentioned there's an annotation tool coming. I don't know if you want to say anything about that, Xiao, or anyone have any questions.
So next week we have Jeff and Renee from the English department talking about an annotation tool called Hypothesis. And this is very exciting because it is connected to Blackboard and it is new. And it took a lot of time, a lot of effort from folks to get it in. And so basically the idea of being able to annotate PDFs and web pages within Blackboard. And so, and of course, they're connected to the Grade Center and all that. And so it might be, it's actually something very new. We don't, Abby, my Abby from the center will be starting to do, we'll start doing workshops, but do come in and see how Jeff and Renee are using it because they'll inspire you. So.
Yeah.
Let me jump in to say, we'll stop the recording right now.
Oh, okay.